Welcome back to Update X, where I tell you what's been going on in the crazy world of video games over the past week. Uploaded every Monday morning on YouTube and podcast platforms like Apple Podcast and Spotify. I'm your host, Brandon Reshitar, at The Only Rush on Twitter and basically everywhere else. Today's update 6.4 for June 22nd, 2020, which includes Cyberpunk 2077 being delayed again, more info on some PlayStation 5 exclusives, a roundup of Thursday's EA Play Live showcase, and so much more. Let's get into it. We're going to start with the Cyberpunk 2077 delay. So I'm getting the additional details on it from Cass Marshall at IGN. The original date was April 16th this year, and if you remember in January it was pushed to September 17th, and now it's pushed to November 19th, or a little bit over 2 months actually. So last Thursday, the official Twitter account for the game tweeted this message. Quote, "We have decided to move the launch of Cyberpunk 2077 from September 17th to November 19th. Those of you who are familiar with the way we make games know that we won't ship something which is not ready. Ready when it's done is not just a phrase we say because it sounds right. It's something we live by, even when we know we'll take the heat for it. At the same time, we are fully aware that making such a decision costs us your trust, and trading trust for additional time is one of the hardest decisions a game developer can make. And despite we think it's the right decision for the game, we'd still like to apologize for making you wait longer. Our intention is to make Cyberpunk 2077 something that will stay with you for years to come. In the end, we hope you understand why we did what we did. At the time we are writing these words, Cyberpunk 2077 is finished both content and gameplay-wise. The quests, the cutscenes, the skills and items, all the adventures and Night City has to offer, it's all there. But with such an abundance of content and complex systems interweaving with each other, we need to properly go through everything, balance game mechanics, and fix a lot of bugs. A huge world means a huge number of things to iron out, and we will spend the additional time doing exactly that. This week, journalists from all over the world are starting to independently play the game. We are eager and quite stressed to hear their opinions, as well as see your reactions when they publish their previews right after we air Night City Wire on June 25th. We hope this will satisfy some of your hunger for the game as we work to polish it for the November launch. Thank you. So this actually really surprised me since they have been pretty vocal about their confidence in the September date. And another piece of info from the IGN article says the delay announcement comes just weeks after CD Projekt said it was on track to hit the September 17th date. So it's unfortunate we have to wait longer for this game that we've been waiting for so long to begin with. But by all means, don't release a broken game. That I 1000% think this is the right move, and would rather them have to delay it again rather than release it with a bunch of bugs and glitches that would dampen the experience. But on the plus side of all this, with the initial delay putting it to September 17th, I really didn't like the idea of playing such a big and ambitious game on a current-gen platform right before a next-gen console launch. That being said, some people have been speculating that this new November 19th date could be a launch date for the Xbox Series X, which is an interesting idea that comes up, and I would believe it. The speculation being about the Xbox instead of the PS5 being because of Xbox and Cyberpunk having more marketing ties over the last few months, with Cyberpunk being one of the first, if not the first big game to promote smart delivery and all that. So November 19th is definitely a believable launch date for the Series X. I'm really interested to see how this all develops soon, with Xbox having their big first-party games event next month in July, and possibly voicing a release date for the Series X at that event. So it'll be cool to see if this actually lines up and the Cyberpunk new release date is the launch of the Series X. That would be a big move, and I'd be excited for it. After that, we've got Resident Evil 8 PS4 version canceled. But I think it's just current-gen versions are canceled, not just PS4. But the article I read just said PS4. Specific info is from Adam Byrne at PSU.com. The PSU article notes a Twitter thread from a gaming insider, Dusk Gollum. He said, quote, "Okay, I got some clarification on why they made RE8 next-gen only when it was cross-gen previously. With the updated graphic fidelity overhaul they're doing, which is still in progress, the way RE8 was designed led to past-gen consoles having a lot of pop-in, long texture loads, load times, because the game has you traveling through most of the village and had a lot of load zones. Because there's a bigger focus on exploration, this would lead to the last-gen console versions having notable issues, and it was holding back how pretty they could make certain scenes. So they decided to drop the last-gen versions of the game to make it so the game had no loading times at all, so not limited by last-gen hardware, and push the graphic overhaul further without the limitations of last-gen tech in mind. So it's just another example of games being made in this weird transitional period where developers have to make the decision of being fully next-gen and taking full advantage of the hardware, or being held back one way or another by being available to players on last-gen consoles. Personally, I agree with PlayStation's mindset, saying that if you go through all the work to make a next-gen console, you should have games that take advantage of that hardware sooner rather than later. But you're never going to be able to please everybody with it, so I would say just press on with one side or the other, whichever decision they make, rather than battling back and forth on what should we do. Just pick one and go with it, because people are going to be upset either way. And coming from me, I don't even play the Resident Evil games, but I still agree with just focusing on next gen, even if it means cutting the current gen versions of it. So next I got the EA Play Live Roundup, and I was going to do a whole episode to round it up, but I'm just doing a quick segment of the normal weekly episode, because there are too many events going on for me to do that for everyone, and I still work full time, so this is what I'm going to do for this one. So EA's EA Play Live was their digital showcase to show new games and other things that the studio is doing, and that happened last Thursday. And some people were very happy with it, and others not so much. Basically, if you're a fan of Apex Legends, the Skate games, or are excited for the Star Wars Squadrons game that's coming out in October, you got a good conference. If you don't particularly care for those, it wasn't all that. I was really hoping for some Battlefield news, but I didn't really get that other than some possible in-development footage of some unannounced Battlefield game, but that's all I really saw of that. The showcase started with Apex Legends and talked about Season 5's latest collection event, Lost Treasure, coming June 23rd, showing some new features, a new mode, Armed and Dangerous Evolved, map changes, and exclusive content. They also announced Apex is coming to Steam and Nintendo Switch this fall, along with crossplay, which all of that's awesome, bringing the game to more players and letting them play together regardless of platform is always good to see. EA recently has been getting more into adding crossplay to their existing titles, which is always good to see. And then they talked about The Sims, with a few diverse players talking about why they love The Sims, and ending with the announcement of The Sims 4 arriving on Steam immediately. So as of last Thursday, Sims 4 is on Steam. And this was followed by the announcement of 5 more EA games available on Steam now. They said those 5 games include Titanfall 2, A Way Out, and Dead Space 3. I don't know why they didn't just say the other 2 titles if there's only 5, but that's how they did it. They also restated that EA Access is coming to Steam this fall as well, which is EA's subscription service like Xbox Game Pass, essentially. And they talked about Command & Conquer Remastered again being on Steam and Origin with full mod support. And they said we can expect 7 new games coming to Nintendo Switch in the next 12 months, including Burnout Paradise, available the day after the event's available. So that one's out now for Switch, and Apex Legends, as I stated before, coming this fall. And they talked about crossplay starting to come to more EA games, which they just went over a little bit with Apex Legends. And then the event moved to talks from some EA original studios, Zoink Games, Valand Studios, and Hazelight. Hazelight being the developer behind the co-op game A Way Out. And Hazelight's newest game is called It Takes Two. It's a co-op action-adventure platformer coming in 2021. The 2 players control these dolls that represent the main character's parents who are separating, and players will go through levels that look like they're in the main character's bedroom, so playing as small dolls in a big world in relation to your size. No platforms listed for that yet, but it does look interesting. And next was a game from Zoink Games, which this game looked like a game straight out of a Tim Burton movie, like Nightmare Before Christmas. It's called Lost in Random. The world of Random is a dark kingdom where every citizen's future is determined by the roll of a dice. Will you be defeated by your fate, or embrace chaos and learn to make it work in your favor? Embark on a journey with Even, who is the main character's name, and her sidekick Dicey to play the odds and break the curse of random. And the next game is a game from Final Strike Games with their first ever title, Rocket Arena. This one looks interesting, and I actually really dig it. It's an explosive, rockets-only 3v3 shooter, where you're never out of the fight. Master your hero's unique rockets and abilities to blast your rivals off the map and rule the arena. Game launches July 14th. Crossplay will be available at launch, which is awesome again, for PS4, Xbox One, Origin, and Steam. And then we see some more on Star Wars Squadrons, which again launches on October 2nd this year. The really interesting thing about this particular Star Wars piloting game is how in-depth you get to go with being a pilot. It's not just fly and shoot and that's your only two buttons. You learn to redirect power in your ship. You can focus power on your front or rear shields if you're getting hit from behind, divert more or less power to engines, and one of the developers gave a specific scenario where you boost your engines to fly ahead from somebody shooting at you from behind, cut your engines off, whip around 180, and shoot a missile back at them while you're still drifting backwards. So all this specific flight stuff about redirecting power and a lot of flight maneuverability. And I love when games let players get that immersed and that in control of their character or vehicle. It leads to that next level of immersion and that many more potentially really cool moments in gaming. Part of me is slightly worried that that'll take away from more casual experiences, but we'll see if it's balanced well. I'm assuming they're going to have it so hardcore players that play it nonstop and get a handle of all those mechanics don't just destroy all the players that just jump in casually. Hopefully there's a good balance between those two. Crossplay is also going to be supported on that one from day one, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Also, VR is supported through the entire game, beginning to end, including multiplayer, which is dope. So you, as I was just talking about, next level of immersion, you're also going to be able to have VR sitting in your cockpit of your Star Wars X-Wing or TIE Fighter or whatever, going through, flying around, so that'd be fun. And then EA goes into their next-gen world premiere, where they showed some footage of Madden and FIFA, and then they showed some works in progress on unannounced games. A good amount of footage that looked like the next Battlefield game in development, which I talked about a little bit ago. Some cars shown off, probably from the next Need for Speed. The graphics looked incredible for those. And then BioWare was mentioned, showing some scenery that looked really good, and I'm actually really curious what game that's going to be. They showed all this in development and work in progress footage, but didn't say what games those were specifically for. So that was interesting. And then some more Battlefield looking stuff marked as work in progress again for next gen. But that footage looked like more 20th century war stuff, which threw me off since last week I talked about an insider saying the setting of the next Battlefield will be similar to Battlefield 3. So I have no idea what they're doing for the next Battlefield anymore, if that was footage from the next game. And then Motive Studios was brought up, saying they're currently working on a, quote, highly ambitious, innovative new game that puts the power and creativity in your hands that would have been impossible without next-gen technology. And that statement was said alongside some interesting, clearly in development footage of a game that does look different from most games I've seen. I'm really curious what that one is. When I looked up Motive Studios games, all that came up was Star Wars Battlefront 2 and Star Wars Squadrons. But the game footage they showed in development definitely didn't look like Star Wars at all, so I really have no idea what that game is. And finally, the last game they talked about at EA Play, they had creative director of Skate, Cuz Perry, saying, "We're back, we're doing it, Skate's happening, we're rolling." So I didn't really get that far into the Skate games. I played Skate 2 and 3 a little bit, but there's obviously many people who are very excited about this one. They did say it's just the beginning and it's really early, so there was no announcement, there was no trailer, no screenshots, nothing of any kind of Skate game. This was just an announcement saying that it's happening and they're starting the process now. Perry said, "We cannot believe you commented this into existence because all the Skate fans have been commenting on everything saying, when are we getting Skate 4? We want Skate 4. And it's finally happening now. So this is more just exciting for me for Skate fans. I'm just excited for them, the fact that they're finally getting this. Next up, I've got WB Games announcements happening in August. This is from Stephanie Nunnally at VG247. So DC Fandom, which is a virtual event focusing on the DC Universe, will take place on August 22nd, during which time WB Games will make some announcements. It's unknown right now what the company has to announce, but considering it's been teasing a Batman game for what seems like ages, we might finally hear about it. There's also the possibility the company will show off the Harry Potter RPG it has in the works. Again, Harry Potter's not my thing, but I love the Batman Arkham games, and I cannot wait to hear about the next Batman game they're working on. I'm not as anxious as the more hardcore fans, like one of the guys from Kind of Funny, Barrett Courtney, has been losing his mind and keeping like a day tracker of how many days it's been since we've heard about Batman news. I'm not that anxious for it, but I'm definitely going to be checking it out and more than likely buying whatever next Batman game they come out with. So again, August 22nd at the DC Fandom event, which is not a gaming event, but WB Games will be having announcements at that event. After that, we've got PS5 Special Editions will be beyond anything seen before, says PlayStation designer. The info is from Alex Avard at Games Radar. Specifically, that PlayStation designer being the VP of UX design, Matt McLaurin. Commenting in response to a question on LinkedIn, McLaurin promised that players, quote, can count on even more beautiful and hopefully radical special editions. He also said customization with special editions will be beyond anything seen before. So special editions have always been great, or mostly been great. Some bad ones have come out in the past, but they usually have really cool designs to get. But him saying customization with special editions will be beyond anything seen before is really exciting. So if we get like a Spider-Man Special Edition PS5, if we can customize it to a certain extent, I'm still want to get more info on how we're going to be able to customize that, whether it's just color or something, or pick between a couple different designs for the Special Edition. We'll see what they do with that. And the week before, he also took to LinkedIn to confirm that the PS5 will boast a 100% overhaul of the PS4 UI, promising that it's more subtle than flashy, but no pixel is untouched. And if you remember during the PS5 reveal event, we saw a small clip of the PS5 startup screen, and it was for sure more subtle than flashy. And going back to the special edition consoles, I love those, and obviously I want a PS5 day one, and that's my plan right now, is to get a PS5 day one. The only thing that sucks is if I do get one that early, I'll be missing out on special editions down the road, which kind of sucks. Unless they have a special edition available at launch, which I doubt. I don't like to get my hopes up for things like that. But, I can dream a little bit. After that, we've got the female Lombax from Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart will be playable. If you saw the trailer for the upcoming Ratchet and Clank game, you saw the mysterious female Lombax at the end of it. Lombax being the species that Ratchet is. Insomniac Games tweeted out last week a picture of the new Lombax saying, quote, play as Ratchet and a mysterious new female Lombax from another dimension. Hashtag Ratchet PS5, hashtag Rift Apart. So another playable character in a game is almost always a good time. Almost. So I'm very excited to get to see how we experience that new character. I'm thinking she's going to have some different weapons from Ratchet, maybe some different abilities to traverse the environment and do combat with. It just adds more diversity and variety to the gameplay in a game, and more variety in gameplay is, again, almost always a good thing. It's never just good or bad. Sometimes it's in the middle. And after that, a new Pokemon Snap was announced last week. Not a new Pokemon Snap. The name of the game is New Pokemon Snap. This info is from Andrew Webster at The Verge. So initially, this wasn't as crazy of an announcement to me, because I never owned a Nintendo 64, and I didn't know what Pokemon Snap was before last week. But many people were very excited about this. The classic N64 game where players simply capture photos of Pokemon is on its way to the Nintendo Switch. We don't know much about the new version just yet, other than the fact that it's called New Pokemon Snap, and it's being developed by Bandai Namco. So here's the basic premise, courtesy of Nintendo. Travel to unknown islands with beautiful scenery like lush jungles and sandy beaches. The Pokemon pictures you take there will be used to build your very own Pokemon photo decks. This brand new game brings the gameplay of the 1999 Pokemon Snap game for the Nintendo 64 system to life on the Nintendo Switch system, with unknown islands to discover and different Pokemon to see. The game currently does not have a release date. So very exciting for Pokemon Snap fans. I saw a few reactions online of people just losing their minds that a new Pokemon Snap is happening. Not really my thing, but again, just happy for those fans. Next up, we've got PAX West and PAX Australia were cancelled due to COVID-19 and are being replaced by PAX Online. I'm getting the info from Ethan Gatch at Kotaku. In a quote from the companies behind the event in a press release, they said, PAX Online will serve as a digital space encompassing everything fans love about PAX Ost and West's annual bash, including surprising game reveals, hands-on demos, thrilling esports tournaments, a carefully curated selection in the Indie Showcase, as well as new partnerships bringing the virtual show floor to life. So that'll take place from September 12th through the 20th, so it's a 9-day event. If you don't know what PAX is, the conventions are typically a chance for people to meet up in person, check out demos for upcoming games, and hear from designers, voice actors, and gaming influencers at panel Q&As. The 9-day online event will be free for everyone to watch, as opposed to paying to attend the PAX physical events. PAX is something I've always wanted to go to, but haven't had the chance to go to anything yet. I've never been to an E3, I've never been to a PAX, I've never been to any of that. Next up, we've got a Stadia Connect was announced for July 14th. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because Stadia is continuing to just go further and further downhill every month, it seems. But the next Connect event will have Google sharing the latest features and games coming soon to Stadia. I'm more just including this story to show that Stadia has not given up yet. They're still trying to better their service, which is good to see. As bad as they're doing, it's good to see that they're still trying to make it better. So they're going to have an opportunity here to give fans some good news next month and maybe start going in the right direction, because I don't remember exactly what they announced at the last Stadia Connect. I remember basically what happened is they didn't really have any big new announcements. They were just saying, hey, we're still here. Hopefully this isn't that. My hopes are very low for this, but we'll see if they have anything great to say. Next, we've got Horizon Forbidden West has a 2021 release window and some new info. So I'm getting the info from a new video uploaded on PlayStation's YouTube channel called Horizon Forbidden West Guerrilla Talks. The video starts with Matthias de Jonge. I'm pretty sure I said that right. I practiced that so many times because he has a very complex name, is how I'm going to say it. He's the game's director. He explains that the title Forbidden West comes from the game's setting, stretching from Utah in the US to the Pacific Ocean in the West. He also says with the PS5's SSD, there will be virtually no loading screens. That was his quote, virtually no loading screens. So don't expect none, but almost none. When talking about map size, he says, for the sequel, we wanted to go wider and deeper. So the map is a bit bigger, but we also wanted to let players discover what lies hidden beneath the surface of lakes and rivers, which is some more info on the underwater scenes, which we saw in the announcement trailer. And he also talks about some new machines we're going to be seeing, like Shell Snappers, Sunwings, and Tremor Tusks. And if we saw all of those in the announcement trailer, if you've seen that. And the Tremor Tusks are massive, mammoth-like machines that look so cool. They're like big war elephants. They're awesome. He says players will discover dozens of new machines, which is just awesome to hear. It won't be just a small handful of new enemies. His quote is dozens of new machines. And if I think back on Horizon Zero Dawn and looking at the menu where you have your journal with each of the different machine types in there was only maybe a couple dozen in that one. So to have dozens of new machines in this one is very exciting. I am always down for multiple new enemies and stuff like that. Hopefully it's not too much to keep track of, but dozens of new machines is good to hear. Forbidden West is also home to new tribes, some peaceful, some hostile. As for the release date, he said we're aiming to release the game next year in 2021. So again, all good news here. I'm so excited for this sequel since I just beat Horizon Zero Dawn for the first time 2 weeks ago. Very late on that, I know, but I never ended up finishing it the first time for whatever reason. But Horizon Forbidden West is going to be an incredible story with incredible gameplay and scenery. It's going to be a beautiful game. I am so excited to play it. So after that, we've got Crash Bandicoot 4 is headed to PS4 and Xbox One. This is from Jordan Oleman at IGN. So when I made this story initially, it was still in like the leak stages. So the game leaked, and now there's been a confirmation that it's happening, and then we're going to get an announcement trailer soon. So I didn't rewrite the whole story, but I got like the leak info, and then I got the confirmation part at the end. So just roll with it, please, with me. So Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. That's the name of the game. I'm not saying it's about time there's a Crash 4. The game's called It's About Time. The game's been rated for PS4 and Xbox One by the Taiwan Digital Game Rating Committee, which is where the leak came from. And Gematsu is the one who first spotted the listing. Right after it was spotted, it was removed from the committee's search results for Crash Bandicoot. So the leak had the box art for the game, which is up online now, like everywhere. I'll have it on screen for those of you watching on YouTube. The listing also featured a short description of the game's premise. It said, Crash is relaxing and exploring his island in his time, 1998, when he finds a mysterious mask hidden away in a cave, Lani Loli. The mask is one of the quantum masks and apparently knows Aku Aku, Crash's mask friend. With the quantum masks returning and a quantum rift appearing near our heroes, they decide to bravely head through to different times and dimensions to stop whoever is responsible. So, between Crash Bandicoot 4 and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, we'll be jumping through all kinds of dimensions in new games. What would be really interesting is if there was like Easter eggs in each of those games where Crash Bandicoot jumped dimensions into the Ratchet & Clank game, or Ratchet & Clank jumped dimensions into Crash 4. That'd be kind of funny. I don't think it's that unbelievable that they would do that. That's just a guess and an interesting idea that I think would work pretty well. And it's also worth noting that the box art for the game, which was leaked, seems to confirm that the game will be playable on the Xbox Series X also. In the bottom left of the box, it states that It's About Time is an Xbox One game playable on Xbox Series X. Similar messaging is not present on the PS4 box art. Additionally, there is no mention of a PC or Switch release, two platforms that received the previous Crash Bandicoot games, Insane Trilogy and Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. And the box art also reveals that Spyro Reignited Trilogy developer Toys for Bob is behind the game, rather than the Insane Trilogy studio Vicarious Visions. And before the leak came out, IGN and other big names in the gaming industry received a 200-piece puzzle with the message, a little something to help pass the time, time being in all capital letters, signed from your favorite Bandicoot, which the puzzle revealed one of the masks seen on the cover for the game. So that was a cool way to tease the new game. And onto the official reveal news that I got just this morning. The official Crash Bandicoot Twitter page posted something this morning, again Sunday because that's when I record these. They said, tune in June 22nd at 8 a.m. Pacific Time for Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time reveal. And they said official reveal is greater than leaks, promise. So a few hours after this episode goes live, that official announcement, trailer or whatever it's going to be, will be up. And that's most likely where we're going to see the confirmed platforms, release date or release window, and possibly some gameplay for it. I haven't played the Crash games in years. I didn't even end up getting the Trilogy Remaster, so this will be even newer for me. After that, we've got Spider-Man Miles Morales plot and story length details. This is from Joe Screbbles at IGN. Described by creative director Brian Horton on the PlayStation blog, Miles Morales is set a year after the events of Marvel's Spider-Man. The standalone follow-up kicks off just before Christmas as a street war kicks off between an energy corporation and a high-tech criminal army. Harlem, where Miles now lives, is in the middle of the war, and he sets out to put a stop to it. Insomniac says the new game will include a new story with new set pieces, fresh villains, and unique quests across Marvel's New York City. Along the way, Miles will discover new powers to set him apart from Peter Parker's Spider-Man. If you remember, we saw invisibility as one example in the reveal trailer for the game. And from a new trailer recap video from Insomniac, Miles is being designed to feel distinct from Peter Parker in the first game. Aside from his differing powers, Miles' combat and traversal animations will be brand new. Perhaps most interestingly, Miles' lower confidence in being a superhero will be reflected in how he web swings, with hero animator James Ham pointing out that he flails around more while swinging, since he's obviously not as experienced in being Spider-Man as Peter Parker is. So he's going to be, I guess, a little bit more clumsy, is one way to put it. Insomniac makes clear that this game is entirely about Miles Morales, who is a critical part of our Spider-Man universe. But the studio also hints that the original Spider-Man will return, saying, "We still have much of Peter's story left to tell." Horton also explains that the first game's director, Brian Intihar, continues to imagine big things for the Marvel Spider-Man universe. It's certainly not a confirmation of a Peter Parker-centric Spider-Man 2, but it definitely feels like a hint at one. So, I'm not going to actually spoil anything, but after the ending of the 2018 Spider-Man game, I wouldn't assume that they're just going to ditch the Peter Parker part of the story. He's definitely got some more story aspects to follow up with. Horton doesn't cover the size of the game, but after some confusion, Insomniac confirmed that the game would be a standalone release, but reports have said that it will be a smaller game than the first, similar in scope to other expandalones, quote-unquote, like Uncharted Lost Legacy, which that game was about half the length of the Uncharted game it was based on. So this leads some people to believe that Miles Morales may be about half the length of 2018's Spider-Man game. Which I wish it was a little bit longer, but I did get plenty of hours from 2018's Spider-Man game, so I'll be okay with the length that we get for Miles Morales. And quick correction from last week, when I was talking about Destiny 2, I said if you plan on switching platforms for next gen, you would need to buy the game again. That is not true, as Destiny 2's base game is free to play as of last fall. So that's a plus. It doesn't include all content, but actually includes a decent chunk of it. It's kind of a mess to figure out what you get and what you don't. But I just wanted to clarify that part of what I said last week was wrong. So Destiny 2's base game is free to play. You won't necessarily have to buy it again if you switch platforms. And going on to gaming events happening this week. Today, June 22nd, Summer Game Fest's Developer Showcase is happening, where you can tune in for a look at upcoming independent and larger scale projects. That's at 8 a.m. Pacific Time. June 23rd, we've got New Game Plus Expo, which will have announcements and updates from companies including Sega, Atlas, and more. That's at 8 a.m. Pacific Time. June 24th, we got Marvel's Avengers War Table Stream, which is going to have new gameplay and details on Marvel's Avengers. That's at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. I am excited to see what they have to show for Marvel's Avengers, since some people were kind of disappointed with what they've shown so far, but it seems like it's very 50-50 on people liking or hating the game. Also on June 24th, IGN will have exclusive gameplay demos and developer interviews. June 25th, we're going to get the Cyberpunk 2077 Night City Wire event, where you can tune in for a special broadcast on Cyberpunk 2077 from CD Projekt Red. I'm thinking we're going to see some gameplay for that, maybe. And June 27th, we're going to get Bit Summit Gaiden, which will have a look at upcoming Japanese independent games. Going on to gaming deals, there's a deal on Humble Bundle called Fight for Racial Justice, where you donate $30 minimum. 100% of proceeds go to support organizations that fight racial injustice, and you get over $1,200 worth of games and DRM-free books. They've raised just under $3 million so far from when I wrote these notes, and the bundle deal ends Tuesday, June 23rd. Xbox has a deal for EA Access, which is a subscription service that lets you try out new EA titles days before release, get access to a ton of current EA titles like FIFA 20, Plants vs. Zombies, and more like that. Usually the service is $4.99 a month or $29.99 for a whole year if you buy it at one time. But Xbox's deal is $1 for your first month, so pay $1 to try out EA Access if you want. That deal is active through June 29th. Today is the last day for Xbox's Platforming Paradise sale, with up to 75% off games like Levelhead, Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, Dead Cells, My Friend Pedro, and more. Today is also the last day to take part in Xbox's free-to-play sale, which sounds very contradicting at first. Basically, you can save up to 50% on add-ons or microtransactions for some free-to-play games, like Apex Legends and Smite. So that one was interesting. PlayStation has a remasters and retro sale with up to 85% off older games and remasters like the Crash Bandicoot and Insane Trilogy, Resident Evil games, older Grand Theft Auto games, and more. That deal ends July 2nd. PlayStation also has 75% off games like Far Cry 5, Greedfall, Dragon Age Inquisition, and a ton more. That one's going on until June 25th. PlayStation's deal of the week is 33% off SnowRunner until June 25th. And Nintendo has a classic family board game sale with up to 50% off single and multiplayer games like Clue, Battleship, and more until June 26th. And going on to new releases via Metacritic. Last week we got Dead by Daylight Silent Hill, released June 16th for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Disintegration released June 16th for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. That one got slightly worse reviews than I thought it was going to get, which was surprising. Desperados 3 released June 16th for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Pokemon Sword and Shield: The Isle of Armor released June 17th for Switch. Namco Museum Archives Volume 1 and 2 released June 18th for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. West of Dead released June 18th for Xbox One, PC, and that one's on Game Pass. I downloaded it. It looks like a pretty interesting game, actually, and Ron Perlman voices the main character, so that's already cool. Burnout Paradise Remastered released June 19th for Switch, as I talked about in the EA Play Roundup. The Last of Us Part 2 released June 19th for the PS4. I've been playing that game, of course, since it came out, but I'll get to my spoiler-free thoughts on that one in a minute. And releases coming this week, we've got SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. Releases June 23rd for PC, Switch, Xbox One, and PS4. Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary World Tour releases June 23rd for Switch. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer releases June 23rd for Switch and PS4. If you remember, that one got delayed like the day before it was supposed to release back in May, I think it was. So this is the new release date. And Dead Cells The Prisoner's Edition releases June 23rd for Switch and PS4. Pokemon Cafe Mix releases June 23rd for Switch. Borderlands 3 Bounty of Blood: A Fistful of Redemption releases June 25th for PC, Xbox One, and PS4. Blair Witch comes to Switch June 25th, and the Control DLC The Foundation comes to Xbox One June 25th. There's a lot of stuff there. And going on to what have I been playing, some more Destiny 2. Hasn't been anything crazy fun, but I still enjoy the little grind here and there, do a couple missions. And getting into The Last of Us Part 2, I started playing it the second I got home from work late on Thursday night. I'll give some spoiler-free opinions on what I've played so far. I'm about just under 10 hours into it, I think. The mocap in the cutscenes is fantastic. Actual believable character animations, which is really cool. Graphically, the game looks great. I'm only on a PS4 Slim. I really wish I had a PS4 Pro to play this game, but it still looks really good on the Slim. In melee combat, you can dodge, which is different from the first one. It doesn't feel that great. I feel like I still might just have to get a hang of it, but initially, the first few opportunities I had to dodge, I was backed against a wall or something like that, so I couldn't really dodge anywhere, so that sucked. But again, might just need more practice with that one. I already came across some great Easter eggs, one with a house that had a PS3 in it and a couple familiar games, and another one with a play on words of Crash Bandicoot. That was hilarious. I was almost crying how hard I was laughing at that one. So, I don't want to spoil it, but if you've played the game and you know what I'm talking about, on the VHS tapes that are found, the Crash Bandicoot play on words is so funny. The game also has some moments spread out that make you forget you're in a post-apocalyptic setting, which is done really well. You just get into whatever is happening in the cutscene or in the moment of gameplay, and you just forget that the world is falling apart, and it's done so well. So this has been your update 6.4 for June 22nd, 2020. Thank you so much for watching on YouTube or for listening on podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you want to get more frequent gaming news posts from me in between episodes, you can follow the show's page on Twitter at UpdateXShow. You can also give me any feedback or suggestions you have about the show while you're there. Outside of game news, I post gaming clips and stuff like that for fun on TikTok at The Only Rush if you want to check that out. I also go live there when I record my episodes, which I'm live right now. My personal Twitter page is also at The Only Rush, where I post non-strictly news-related stuff. As always, thank you so much for choosing Update X for your gaming news. I'll see you next Monday morning. Have a great week.